coming up on Film Nerd by Night.
I've been in this situation. He's lamenting, he's sad about the fact that the industry is a part of, that industry and art form dying. And you could tell he realized that, that makes come off kind of arrogant and dissing ballet and opera. He wasn't saying that it was bad, that people shouldn't care about it, or that people that do care about it, the people that do work in it, are something less. He was making the observation that comparatively, culturally, opera and ballet are dead art forms.
And now, the show.
Center star Michael B. Jordan was big as Timothée Chalamet snub. Yeah. Now it says here, in terms of snubs, it was embarrassing even for Dune star Timothée Chalamet, who after recently come under fire for his comments about opera and ballet, and after previously telling people not to take his work for granted, walked away empty-handed. His latest movie, Marty Supreme, received 9 nominations and won nothing. The same happened last year when Complete Unknown received 8 nods and left empty-handed. So I thought about making a video on this, so I guess I'm going to get an opportunity to do it here. Timothée Chalamet is a phenomenal actor. I've reviewed several of his movies. I think he's probably the best actor of his generation working right now. And I say of his generation, in my mind, he's still like 20, but he's actually now 30. But great actor. Everybody loved the guy for the last few years. He'd been the it guy. He had all of these big roles that were not only box office smashes, but they were critically acclaimed. The Dune movies, it mentioned here, A Complete Unknown, which was a really good Bob Dylan biopic. I reviewed that for one of my other channels whenever it came out back at the end of 2024. He really just embodied that character. He started to lose his luster a little bit in the eyes of some people when he was up for The Complete Unknown Best Actor. And I think it all started when he won the Golden Globe SAG Award for his portrayal of Bob Dylan.
I know the classiest thing would be to downplay the effort that went into this role and how much this means to me, but the truth is this was 5.5 years of my life. I poured everything I had into playing this incomparable artist, Mr. Bob Dylan, a true American hero. And it was the honor of a lifetime playing him. And I know we're in a subjective business, but the truth is, I'm really in pursuit of greatness. I know people don't usually talk like that, but I want to be one of the greats. I'm inspired by the greats. I'm inspired by the greats here tonight. I'm as inspired by Daniel Day-Lewis, Marlon Brando, and Viola Davis as I am by Michael Jordan and Michael Phelps, and I want to be up there. So I'm deeply grateful to that. This doesn't signify that, but it's a little more fuel, it's a little more ammo to keep going. Thank you so much.
I feel like it was a speech about personal exceptionalism and working on your craft to do the best job you could, and knowing that you put that work in there and being happy when that work was recognized. And in of itself, that's not a bad statement. But it could be, and I think was, easily perceived or maybe indicative of a little bit of budding hubris on Timothée Chalamet's part. And that's when you started kind of see a little bit of criticism come up. And he ended up losing the Best Actor Oscar after that. So then he comes out with another movie at the end of last year, Marty Supreme, which I haven't seen, and it's ostensibly a ping pong movie. Or actually, table tennis ping pong is a colloquial. It's actually a brand name that's used colloquially to refer to the sport, but it's a table tennis movie. I was really interested in this, not only because it was Timothée Chalamet, who I really think does a great job, but also because I used to play table tennis as a teenager, and you can't see, but on the top of this shelf behind me are my 4 ping pong trophies from local tournaments. I used to actually follow the sport, the professional sport, watched it on ESPN2, was huge in the table tennis. So this sounded right up my alley. Unfortunately, it wasn't playing anywhere close to me because it was a smaller release. But the reason Timothée Chalamet probably lost this Oscar, because he was an early front runner for this, was probably because of some comments starting with the promotional tour for Marty Supreme. He had said some things and done some like publicity stunt things that just kind of seemed weird and kind of rubbed people the wrong way. Still, he was the front runner for a while. Then he did a town hall with Matthew McConaughey, who was his co-star from Christopher Nolan's Interstellar several years ago when Timothée Chalamet was a kid. And I haven't watched the entire interview, but I did watch more of the clip than was being circulated on social media and being shown in the traditional media.
No, but point being, I think even like Frankenstein, which is like a hugely popular movie this year, I didn't think that pacing was extraordinarily fast or anything, but it pulled people in, you know. But it does take you having to wave a flag of, hey, this is a serious movie or something. And some people want to be entertained and quickly. I'm really right in the middle, Matthew, because I admire people, and I've done it myself, to go on a talk show and go, hey, we got to keep movie theaters alive. You know, we got to keep this genre alive. And another part of me feels like if people want to see it, like Barbie, like Oppenheimer, they're going to go see it and go out of their way to be loud and proud about it.
He's lamenting, he's sad about the fact that the industry is a part of that industry and art form dying, and they're trying to have to keep it alive. Let's keep cinema alive. And then he made the analogy.
And I don't want to be working in ballet or opera or, you know, things where it's like, hey, keep this thing alive, even though no one cares about this anymore.
As soon as that came out of his mouth, you could tell he realized that, oh, that makes come off kind of arrogant and dissing ballet and opera. And he tried to mitigate that a little bit by immediately after he said that.
All respect to the ballet and opera people out there.
And the audience laughed. Then he says,
I just lost 14 cents in viewership. But
and that line was a little ambiguous because I'm not sure if he was using 14 cents as 14%, meaning that's how many people he felt like would be offended by his remark. Sounded like he was dissing ballet and opera. Or he meant to say percent and he said cents instead. Or, and this is how some people perceived it, he was kind of doubling down on being dismissive of ballet and opera by saying it was only worth 14 cents. And I don't think that's what he meant. I think he was using it more as a percentage. And the audience, once again, laughed. So the people there didn't really seem to be offended by it. And then...
Damn, I just took shots for no reason.
And Matthew McConaughey responds...
That's not a shot. I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
To his credit, I think that was good of McConaughey to respond like that.
So... But on...
And then they move on. Well, these comments got picked up in the media, and he just got piled on. How dare you diss opera and ballet? The problem with that is, yeah, okay, maybe there was some hubris there. Maybe there was some arrogance. Maybe that's something that's been welling up in him that he needs to get a hold of. But first of all, there's since been footage that's emerged of him talking about ballet and opera, or talking about the film industry dying and using this analogy in a similar fashion back in 2019 before he was really big.
I love movies. I love acting. I love going to movies. I was kind of getting scared when I was younger that maybe it was becoming like opera or something, like an outdated art form or something. I was like, no woe is me thing, but you start working on movies, you start acting and pursuing your thing, and like, I started to get the sense maybe it was like opera or ballet or something. It's kind of like a dying art form or something.
What he wasn't saying that it was bad. He wasn't saying that people shouldn't care about it, or that people that do care about it, the people that do work in it, are something less for liking ballet and opera, for working in ballet and opera. Sure, it's not literally that no one cares. I mean, somebody somewhere is going to care about something. You can't really literally make that statement and it be true because there's too many people in the world. Somebody somewhere is going to care about whatever you're talking about. But he was making the observation that comparatively, culturally, opera and ballet are dead art forms. And I don't think that's a good thing. I'm not a big ballet opera guy. I've never really been interested in ballet. Opera is a little bit different. I have had interest in opera. I'd like to go to an opera. I've never made the effort time to go do it. But either way, I think that both of these art forms are important art forms. They're certainly traditional art forms. And yeah, it would be a sad thing if they just completely went away. And I think that culturally, their continued existence probably is a good thing. And we know that they shouldn't go away. We should do what we can to save. And I feel the same thing about movies. And that's what Timothée Chalamet's talked about, that movies are starting to get in that same state that opera and ballet are in. It's dying. People are caring less and less. They're more interested in watching YouTube videos like this, or even worse, TikTok shorts, social media shorts. So that's all that Timothée Chalamet was saying, that these two art forms, opera and ballet, comparatively, culturally, statistically, nobody cares about them. They're not part of the cultural mainstream. They're not major art forms, and they haven't been in my lifetime. And we know this because there are no major, well-known print publications, websites, not even any big YouTube channels that cover these art forms. But there are that for movies. There are publications that cover movies specifically, websites that cover movies specifically, big, well-known publications and websites, big YouTube channels, because that has been the dominant art form, the big cultural art form that's in the middle of the zeitgeist for my entire lifetime, and really the entire last century. And another issue here is all the people that were piling on him, on Timothée Chalamet. Most of those people, including people from his own industry, it was crazy to me to see so many fellow actors pile on Timothée Chalamet and rake him over the coals. How dare he say something like that, when these people themselves, they don't have a public record of being big supporters of ballet and opera. They're just piling on here for what? I'm not sure what. I don't know if they're jealous of him, or they saw him getting raked over the coals online by non-industry people, so they decided to get on there. I don't know. But the people that are genuinely upset, people who do like ballet, do like opera, who do work in those fields, those people, okay, I get that you have a beef because it sounded like he was dismissing your art, but he wasn't. But okay, he said something that sounded negative about your art form that you work in or that you love. So you get mad about that and get online. That's not the case for most people attacking him. Most people that were attacking him, they're not that big of fans. They've probably never even been to ballet or opera. There was one particular celebrity who I don't really know anything about, Doja Cat, but she piled on, and then she later released a statement, was like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I was just piling on. I don't know anything about ballet and opera, so I was just piling on everybody else, which I kudos to her, because that's the most honest take I've heard on this. As far as the people who have legitimate issue with Timothée Chalamet seemingly dismissing this art form, there was some opera organization that actually put out a statement to this effect. It was like, thank you, Timothée Chalamet, because you did something that we couldn't do. You got people actually talking about these art forms. And that's true. And the reason that he was able to get people talking about these art forms is because he's in movies, and movies actually are a big enough industry. They're still a live enough art form that somebody who works in it can say something about dead art forms and bring that in the forefront of the online conversation. So if anything, people should be thanking Timothée Chalamet. And one of the most, I feel like, disingenuous things I've seen from the online commenters is apparently Timothée Chalamet's mother, maybe grandmother or something, was in ballet, dance or some kind, and they were like, how dare he talk about this art form that his own family was part of. That's very disrespectful. It's like, if his family felt offended by that, then they need to talk that out among themselves. There's no reason to try to bring that up if you're a random person on the internet and trying to defend Timothée Chalamet's family against something that they may not have even found offensive. I thought that was just completely ridiculous. So I feel like, really, and again, I haven't seen either of these movies. I haven't seen Sinners. I haven't seen March Spring. I can't compare the two. acting jobs that each of these actors did, but I do know that Timothée Chalamet was the early favorite to win this, and then after his comments came, which was right before the final round of Oscar voting, he went down in favorability. Michael B. Jordan came up, and Michael B. Jordan won it. And if that's the sole reason that he lost this, that's a shame. So my advice to Timothée Chalamet is maybe be a little bit more careful of what you say to make sure that it can't be construed as arrogance and hubris. And I know, look, I've been in this situation myself, a similar situation. Not as many eyeballs were on it, though, which is probably why I came out unscathed. But a few years ago, I was doing a red carpet interview with a buddy and colleague at a music award show. And this was a live stream interview. And the interviewer asked us where we were from. And I'm from a rural area, can't even really call it a town, called Jayess in southwest Mississippi. And everybody that knows me here knows me really well. And people who have watched a lot of my online content, they know I love this place. I don't want to live anywhere else than here. I've lived here my entire life, minus a little stint where we were out for my dad's job when I was very, very, very small. I love the place. It's the middle of nowhere, and I don't want to live anywhere else. It's the country, it's the woods, it's the fields, it's the streams. And when this interviewer asked us where we were from, I said, we're from this little nowhere place in southwest Mississippi called Jayess. And when I said that, I wasn't attempting to be derogatory because I love this place. Instead, I was just trying to package to the interviewer and to the people watching that we weren't from anywhere known. Now, to me, being from a nowhere place, that's where I want to be. I don't want to be in a city. I want to be in a nowhere place. It's a positive thing. And then after I said that, I turned to my buddy and was like, anything else you can think of to say about that? And then within a few seconds, I realized, like, wait a minute. That could be, it sounded like that I was dissing my hometown. But no, I love my hometown. I want to die here. I wish that I was born here and not 25 minutes away at the nearest hospital, you know. So after we finished the interview, I didn't say anything, didn't try to clear it up on camera. After we finished the interview, I asked my buddy, I was like, did you hear what I said? That sounded really bad, right? He was like, no, everybody that knows you, well, they're not going to think anything of it. I was like, yeah, but what about the people that don't? He's like, I wouldn't worry about it. And he was right, nothing came about it. But nothing came about it probably because we're too small of an act for it to have blown up. But it could have easily blown up. It could have easily cost me my local career and credibility. But it didn't. Timothée Chalamet here, much larger career, much larger audience. Got to be more careful there. As far as the people jumping on here, I would say that folks need to be give a little bit more grace and try to listen to what the person is saying in context of what they're saying. And also, don't get outraged over something that you yourself don't even care about, that you yourself have shown no interest in, have no public record of being a fan of or of supporting, just because, I don't know, maybe you thought the guy was being arrogant and you want to see him fall, or maybe you just jumped on the bandwagon because you saw other people do it. That's not cool. It makes the world a worse place. So I'll get off my soapbox now. I'm glad I got an opportunity to address this with this headline here. If you enjoyed that clip, be sure to follow the Film Nerd by Night podcast wherever you're getting this episode. Also, consider supporting us on Patreon for full-length movie reactions and early access to episodes like this. Stay tuned. We'll see you next time.
Film Nerd by Night, created and hosted by Cole Powell. Theme, Beautiful Now, written and performed by Cole Powell, a Random Mind Records production. Section 107 of U.S. copyright law allows for the fair use of copyrighted material for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, parody, or research.